Hello and welcome to my channel. 10 special dietary needs, their dietary management, health implications, and the way forward, plus suggested meals. Sound knowledge of nutrition is required in order to manage certain health conditions and also, in planning a suitable diet for individuals with special dietary needs. So, let's get into it. Number 1. Vegetarian diets. Vegetarians are people who do not eat animal flesh or fish. Most people indulge in this food habit because of religious, cultural, or health reasons. There are 3 types of vegetarians. Lacto-ovo-vegetarians. These are people who take milk, and milk products, and eggs, in addition to vegetables, which they consume in generous amounts. They do not eat the flesh of animals, fish, or poultry. Lacto-vegetarians. These are people who consume milk, and milk products together with vegetables. They do not eat the flesh of animals, fish, poultry, or eggs. Strict vegetarians. These are also known as vegans. They eat only vegetables, or plant foods. They do not eat the flesh of animals, poultry, and fish, as well as all the animal, or dairy products. Planning a suitable nourishing diet, for the lacto-ovo, and lacto-vegetarians is quite easy, because of the addition of eggs, milk, and milk products respectively, in their diet. It is however, difficult to plan a balanced diet, for a strict vegetarian. Since strict vegetarians eat only plant foods, their diet may lack some of the essential amino acids, and minerals, which can only be obtained from animal foods. However, a fairly balanced diet can be prepared through a careful planning, and judicious combination of different plant foods. For instance, a combination of cereals, legumes, and leafy vegetables will provide a balanced diet. Vegetarians should also consume adequate amount of fresh fruits. Now let's look at the right food sources, that can supply the necessary nutrients for the vegetarians. Proteins can be supplied by pulses, for example, beans, peas, soya beans. Cereals, example, rice, maize, millet. Nuts, example ground nuts, chestnuts, walnuts. Fats can be supplied by nuts, example, ground nuts, palm kernel, coconut. Vitamins and minerals can be supplied by legumes or pulses. Fresh fruits and vegetables, example, cabbage, spinach, water leaf, okra, citrus. Carbohydrates can be supplied by tubers, example, yams, potatoes, cocoyam. Cereal, examples rice, maize, millet, sorghum. Additional proteins, vitamins, and minerals can be obtained from milk, milk products, and eggs for the lacto, and lacto-ovo vegetarians respectively. Suggested menu for the different types of vegetarians. Rice and egg stew. Green beans, fruit salad, custard sauce. Boiled yam or plantain, vegetable stew, with or without eggs. Fried plantain with beans and vegetable stew. Invalid and convalescent diets. An invalid is a sick person, that is confined to bed, while a convalescent is someone, recovering or who has just recovered from an illness. In both cases, they have very weak intestines. Therefore, their diets must be easily digestible. Their diet must also be rich in proteins, vitamins, and minerals, as well as energy foods. Although, fat is a highly concentrated form of energy, it is not easily digested, and therefore should not be given to the invalid, or to the convalescent. Appropriate methods of cooking, that will make the food easily digestible, must be used. These methods include stewing, steaming, and boiling. Suggested meals for invalids and convalescents. 1. Eggs lightly boiled. 2. Milk flavored with any beverage. 3. Mashed yam or potato or cocoyam or cassava. 4. Bean pudding with pap. 5. Soups, example meat, fish or vegetable soups. 6. Fresh fruits or fruit juice. 7. Milk pudding including custards. Diet in fever and infection. A fever is a condition in which the body's temperature rises above normal. Fever is usually a symptom of other diseases, which can even be due to infection. During a fever or an infection, the appetite is usually depressed, and there is the possibility of the body becoming dehydrated. Therefore, at the onset of a fever or an infection, a clear fluid diet should be taken. This can be tea, coffee, ginger ale, fat-free broth, fruit juices, and water gruels. These should be offered in small amounts every hour or two to the patient. The primary purpose of this diet is to relieve thirst and to help maintain the water balance in the body. Broth provides some sodium, and fruit juices supply potassium. Carbonated beverages, sugar, and fruit juices, when used, furnish a small amount of carbohydrates to supply energy. The clear fluid diet is then followed by a full fluid diet, which consists of liquids and foods that liquefy at body temperature. The food can be in puree or mashed form for easy digestion. At this stage, energy foods in the form of carbohydrates should be given so as to supply the needed energy. Generous amounts of vegetables and fruits should be consumed to provide the needed vitamins and minerals. Also, meat and fish cooked by the appropriate methods such as boiling and stewing should be given. However, as the situation improves, the normal diet can be introduced. Diet and diarrhea. Diarrhea is the frequent passing of watery stool. This stool generally has a very offensive odor. Diarrhea has been identified as one of the major killer diseases in children, especially in the underdeveloped and developing countries where the level of personal and community hygiene is very low. Diarrhea increases rapidly when complementary foods are introduced, and it is particularly common in the second year of life. Generally, diarrhea is more common in undernourished than healthy children. The more severe the undernutrition, the more frequent and severe the diarrhea. A child that is suffering from diarrhea has lost a lot of body fluid, and therefore, the major consequence of diarrhea is dehydration. Thus, the first attempt at the treatment of diarrhea is rehydration. The best solution for this rehydration is oral rehydration salt dissolved in 1 liter of boiled cool water. Alternatively, oral rehydration salt can also be prepared at home by mixing the following ingredients: 4 grams of salt, 40 grams of sugar, and 1 liter of boiled water. Dietary management of diarrhea. Diarrhea leads to serious losses of fluids, fats, proteins, vitamins, and carbohydrates. The affected child loses a lot of energy and becomes very weak. These losses must be corrected by an adequate fluid intake, mineral and vitamin supplements in a high-calorie and high-protein diet. Once the rehydration has been accomplished, high-energy and high-protein foods must be administered. Vegetable soups, fish, meat, or poultry soups should be given in generous amounts. If the child is still being spoon-fed, it is suggested that maize gruel mixed with some palm oil, powdered milk, or milled dried fish be given to the child. Diet for overweight. An overweight person is one whose weight is above normal. The extra weight makes demands upon his heart, his blood circulation, his back, and the whole of the body skeleton. It is not surprising that overweight people often have heart disease and hypertension, diabetes, and other chronic diseases. The need for the overweight individual to shed the extra weight can be due to increased muscular development, or it could be due to excessive fat accumulation in the adipose tissue. Gaining or losing weight is simply a question of balancing food calories with the body's need for calories. Therefore, the diet for overweight people should be low in calories. Carbohydrates and fatty foods should be reduced drastically, while a higher quantity of foods rich in proteins should be consumed. Protein-rich foods are desirable because they help to correct the greater losses of muscle tissue, which occur during the process of losing weight. Generous amounts of fresh vegetables and fruits should also be consumed to supply the needed vitamins and minerals. Meals of a low-calorie diet should be attractive and palatable. Meats, fish, and poultry should be free from fat, and should be prepared by boiling, roasting, or stewing. The low-calorie diet should be accompanied with regular exercise, for it to be effective. Diet for underweight. An underweight person is one whose weight is below the standard for his age or height. What the underweight requires is a diet high in calories. This will enable him or her to gain weight. About 500 kilocalorie daily, above the normal calorie requirements, are needed in order to gain 0.4 kg per week. Weight loss is often accompanied by loss of protein tissue, as well as fat tissue. Thus, the underweight should consume foods high in energy and protein. The following foods rapidly increases the calorie content of the diet: coffee cream or fruit on cereal, ice cream, butter, margarine, mayonnaise, jam, honey, cake, candies, puddings, pies, and pastry. Such foods should therefore be included in the diet. It is also necessary to provide a liberal protein allowance, usually 100 gram per day. The following foods are protein-dense: milk, meat, fish, and eggs. Sample daily menu for the underweight. Breakfast: 1 orange or grapefruit, 1 boiled egg, cereal porridge with milk and sugar, 2 to 4 slices of bread with butter and jam or marmalade, tea or coffee with sugar and milk. Lunch or dinner: boiled beans with vegetable stew and fish or meat, vegetable stew with meat, chicken or fish, meat, chicken or fish vegetable stew, or meat or fish stew with pounded yam, fruit or vegetable salad. Diet for diabetic patient. The aim of a diabetic diet is to restrict carbohydrate intake, while meeting normal needs for protein, and providing just sufficient energy to maintain normal weight in adults, and to allow for growth in children. Thus, the daily menu for a diabetic patient should provide about 1,800 kilocalorie energy, and 80 gram protein. Sample daily menu for the diabetic patient. Breakfast: 120 ml orange juice or half grapefruit, 1 wrap of bean pudding, tea or coffee with milk but no sugar. Lunch or dinner: fish, meat stew or chicken stew, with boiled unripe plantains, boiled beans, fruit or vegetable salad. Diet for hypertensive patients. Hypertensive patients need a balanced diet, but should avoid foods rich in sodium and cholesterol or saturated fatty acids. They can consume the diets of normal healthy human beings, but they should drastically reduce the intake of salt and eggs because of their high cholesterol content. Hypertensive patients should also reduce or stop the consumption of butter or margarine because they contain a high proportion of saturated fatty acids. Their sodium consumption should not exceed 40 ml per day. The energy content of their food should also be moderate, as they cannot afford to be obese. Generally, hypertensive patients require about 60 to 90 gram protein, and 1,600 to 2,000 kilocalorie energy per day. They should, however, consume generous amounts of fruits and vegetables. That's my video for today. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.